Hi, I'm Matthew Cavalier and welcome back to my channel, Moments with Matthew. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Today we're going to talk about creativity. The last couple of videos have been a little heavy, so I thought I would try something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting, and something that's really been on my mind, especially as I've been creating this channel. But before we start, please do hit that subscribe button and click that bell so that you get notifications when a new Moment with Matthew appears. And please do click that like button. It really does help my channel, and I am very grateful for all of your support. So I want to talk about creativity today and kind of the elusiveness of creativity. Sometimes it just feels like it is not going to click in. Aside from doing these videos, because sometimes I do say to myself, what am I going to talk about this week? What are people going to be interested in? What inspires me? And there are those that believe that creativity is like a lightning bolt and it just hits you and you run with it. And there are those that believe that you have to work at it every single day, every single week, month in, month out, year by year, almost like it's your job. So you have to kind of think to yourself, what kind of person am I? And I'm a little bit of both. I'm kind of more, though, the lightning bolt strikes me and I roll with it, which is why I keep a little notebook and a pen with me at all times. So important to do because I don't know when an idea is going to strike me. I could be listening to a podcast, I could be reading a book, and if I have my notebook with me, then I know what I want to think about. I don't just run with it and say, oh, there it is, it hit me, I know what I want to talk about. But sometimes an idea will strike me and I'll write it down and I'll go back and reflect on it later and I'll think, how would that make a good video? How would that make a good idea for me to expand on? So it's not always just the lightning bolt. You do have to work at it. Creativity wants a little bit of help along the way. One of my favorite ways to think about creativity is through Elizabeth Gilbert's book. She wrote Big Magic, and those of you that have been paying attention, like really close attention, you'll notice my books change with the topic each week as much as they can. But in the book, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this idea that she really believes that creativity comes to the person that it thinks it can work with, almost like a partner in your creativity moments. So she thinks, oh, I have this idea for a book, and it's a little bit of an idea that gets into her head, and she starts thinking, yeah, I could work with that. And then it's almost like she makes an agreement with creativity and says, yes, I really like this idea. Let's work on it together. And she feels creativity flows through her, and that's what inspires her to write and do what she does best, which is really amazing books, both fiction and nonfiction. So those are some great ways to think about. That is a great way to think about creativity. When you think about creativity as this idea that is coming to you and presenting itself and saying, hey, would you like to work with me on this idea? And she even talks in the book that she had an idea that she was percolating with and she was toying with. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I like this idea. But then as time went on, she let the idea go. And she later worked with another author. I believe it's Anne Pratchett, but you'd have to double check in the book. So maybe you want to pick up Big Magic. But she said that Anne Pratchett, all of a sudden, her idea disappeared from her, and Anne Pratchett wrote a book on the exact idea she was thinking about. So it's like creativity said, oh, well, all right, we won't work together on this project. I'll come back with the next one. And it floated off to the next author who really did take that idea and develop it and created their own book. So I do love that idea that we can connect to creativity and that creativity gives us opportunities, almost like a job interview. You go in, you percolate over those ideas, you reflect on them, and then you say, yeah, I could do that. That sounds like a great creative outlet. Or you might say, no, this just isn't the one for me, but I'll look into the next one that comes along. And You really do have to think about that. This week, I was reflecting on an idea of another heavy video, and I thought to myself, no, I don't want to do that right now. I've done too many heavy videos, and I want a little bit of positivity in my life, and I really want to connect on creativity. So I did a shift and a switch, and the creativity came to me for this idea. So what are ways that you can really connect to your creativity? You really have to take some time and think about it. So those moments of creativity where you say to yourself, this idea is a really good idea, but how do I do it? Do you get quiet and let it come to you? Do you go about your day and let the idea kind of fester in the back of your mind, and then you start to work with it, and it's almost like a subconscious building of this idea for you? Do you read a book? Do you journal? I know I said journal again, but I'm gonna keep going with it. Do you get quiet? Do you go do something that's fun for you? What do you do to spark your creativity? That's what you really have to think about, because my idea of carrying a notebook around and letting it just strike me, that's my way of doing it. That's how I work with creativity. And I do pull in other ideas from time to time, but my motivating factor, and the one that is most prevalent for me, is that big old lightning strike of creativity and rolling with it and reflecting on it and building from there. But you have to discover what works for you. Is it time every day? Do you wake up a little early and say, I'm going to focus for 1 hour on my creativity, on my projects that I enjoy? Or do you let everyone else go to bed and you stay up an hour later? What works for you? It's not going to be the same for every person. So I always struggle when an author or a self-help or self-growth person comes out and says, this idea works for everyone. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all, especially not for creativity. Creativity finds different ways for each of us. So you have to find what you do best when it comes to creativity. So it may be that lightning bolt. It may be that 9 to 5, I've got to put this in as a job. And it may be something completely different, but you have to embrace that. You have to figure out what that creativity is, how you're going to work with it and nurture it, and what you are going to do to put that creativity out there, whether it's a video, whether it's writing, whether it's singing, whether it's composing a song, painting, sculpting. It can be a number of different things, but you have to find that way to connect with it, and you have to find the time to nurture it and love it. Creativity is like a growing child. You have to care for it. You have to nurture it and say, this is what I'm going to do to help you grow. That's how our projects come out. And if you're not willing to work on it, you have to ask yourself, why? What is holding me back? I didn't do these videos for a very long time because I worried about, what will people say about my voice? What will people say about my mannerisms? Those were all things that were getting in the way of creativity. So creativity was there saying, hey, let's do this. And people were supporting me, but I was always saying, oh, I don't know. Because that inner critic is a big block to creativity. So one of the first things we have to do is tell that inner critic, you need to close your mouth because I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. We also have to be able to say to ourselves, listen, this may turn out to be crap. And that's okay. It is okay to turn out crap, because when you turn out the crap, the next thing you do is going to get better and better and better. Everything is not going to be perfect when it comes to creativity. What's the fun in that? I know we have a little bit of perfectionism when it comes to the things we do. We want to be good at it, and we want people to say, that was amazing. Don't get me wrong. I look at the comments, I look at the likes, I look at the subscribers for these videos. I think one video is going to be awesome and it flops. And one video that I thought was like, this was pretty decent, is really resonating with people. So when you put your project out there, you're kind of letting it go for the people who are viewing and interacting with you. You can't hold tight to the idea that this is what creativity is going to get for me and this is the outcome it's going to be. That's not how it works. But the point of creativity is to get your mind flowing, to get your soul lifted up, and to give yourself an outlet. And that is such a beautiful thing. We want to have that expressive outlook. It really does mentally help us improve ourselves. And even if we never put our creativity on display for others, it really does help give us a grounding and an outlet for different parts of our life. So don't be afraid to use that creativity. Don't be afraid to think like, oh, do I have to put this out in the world? No, you do with your creativity what you want, but I do want you to embrace it. That is so important. I want you to be able to own that creativity and do something that you are passionate about and something you are excited about. I have a friend who is a ballet dancer, beautiful ballet dancer. He makes you just lose yourself on stage when you watch him, but he has a hobby of embroidery, and he doesn't necessarily put that out in the world, but what he does is beautiful, and it's a creative outlet for him, and he shares it with a few of us that are close to him, but it is something that he does for additional creativity beyond just the dancing. So you have to find those moments of creativity, especially if you're stuck in a job or a life where you think to yourself, God, this is so boring. Oh, I have to do this. That creativity can really bubble up and allow you to expand that good feeling that you get when you're creative into other aspects of your life. When I'm being most creative, that exudes itself in every part of my life. It's not just those times when I'm being creative. And I find myself being more creative at work because I'm working on being more creative at home and outside of work. So creativity has a wonderful way of continuing to be a part of our lives, and it really is important. So what are you going to do to inspire your creativity, to nurture your creativity? Are you going to be the lightning bolt person? Are you going to carry your notebook? Are you going to just work with it and reflect on it? Are you going to sit with it on a regular basis, every morning or every evening? You have to find what's going to work for you and take that time to truly embrace your creative side. We all have one, even if you're sitting there saying, I'm not that creative. We all have that creative side to us, and don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to embrace it. Thank you so much for joining me this week on A Moment with Matthew. Again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that little bell so you know when the next Moment with Matthew comes out. And please do hit that like button. It really does help the channel, and it really does spread the message. You'd be surprised. I still haven't figured out those algorithms on YouTube, but it really does help. And share on your social medias and follow my social medias below so we can continue this conversation and continue the engagement. And I will see you next time on A Moment with Matthew.